Or
Yeah,
you
this is Amy.
Hi. Here we go. Okay, the only thing that's bullshit about the lollipops at the airport is they make you buy the vanilla and cafe latte one. They don't just have the single ones.
Okay.
They just have these.
You have to buy the whole box.
You have to buy the whole box. But I don't really care. I know, but I don't care.
All right. Well, I'll have to take them with me on my trip.
Okay. Okay, here. All right, you want to grab some of these? Which you want the butterscotch ones, right?
I like the butterscotch.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That's it? Oh, yeah, 3.
Keep going.
That's all the butterscotch.
Keep going.
All the butterscotch there are. Yeah.
Don't lie to me.
I'm
You're
not.
dropping on the floor.
Do the math. There's 12 and there's 4 flavors. There's 3 of each flavor. Thank you.
I'll take that one too. Yeah, I think it's Divisadero. We turn left. So today we're riding in Golden Gate Park. Rented a couple bicycles from San Francisco, which is a really nice little bike shop just outside of Golden Gate on the east end of the park. Beautiful weather today. It's in the mid 70s. Got shorts on. We're gonna do about an 14 to 18 mile loop that goes out to the ocean. Goes northbound along the ocean shore for a view of Golden Gate Park, then up into Presidio, circle back around up by the Marina District, and then back to where we rented the bicycles. It's just a gorgeous day, and if you've never spent any time in Golden Gate Park, renting a bicycle here is just a really great way to do it. Very hilly. A lot of people rent bikes that are motorized. I like to use the power of my own legs. But I got Amy with me. She's back behind me there a little ways. We're having a real nice time. It's kind of nice to take a ride over here to the windmill. So according to the placard, this and one other windmill in the park was actually originally used to irrigate all the plants and trees in the park because this park was originally sand dunes. They're considered the largest windmills of their kind in the world, and the pair were often referred to as the San Francisco Giants. So we made it up to Land's End, which is a part of the Golden Gate National Park Conservatory. There's about a 1.8, maybe 1.8 mile path here that takes you along the coast on a high cliff and affords you some pretty nice views of the Golden Gate Bridge. Beautiful day to be out here today. It's not even that cold. Got shorts on. Not feeling like I need a jacket. We're out on the Presidio now. Almost to a really nice Golden Gate Bridge overlook. Tell you what, one of the best ways to see San Francisco is on bicycle. Major workout, beautiful scenery out in the elements. Don't have to worry about parking your car. There it is. Take a trip across Golden Gate Bridge to the other side and maybe have some lunch over in Sausalito. More than likely this is going to round out to be about a 20-mile bike ride today. Well, we successfully crossed over the Golden Gate Bridge and now we're in the Marina District. Definitely warmer here. It's probably high 70s if not almost 80. Well, good old Google decided to tell us to take a shortcut through the Presidio and up and over the mountain. Getting pretty steep here. We got this, we got this. Put on the power.
Hercules!
Kill it, kill it!
Hercules!
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 We're almost there.
Almost up there. There we are. Back to the road. Hey man. Hello everyone, Scott Leuthold here with 4Expedition. Welcome back to another episode on our YouTube channel. Today I'm coming to you from San Francisco, California. I flew up here on Thursday night with my girlfriend Amy. We'll be here for the weekend. As you just saw, we spent the morning bicycling about 20 miles around San Francisco, which is a really wonderful way to get some exercise and tour the city. We rented bicycles from San Fran Cyclo and had a really nice experience with them. Bicycled through Golden Gate Park down to the ocean, up around Land's End, over San Francisco's wonderful Golden Gate Bridge, and then down through the Marina District, out to North Beach, back over the Presidio, and back to where we rented the bicycles. It was a really wonderful day, and the temperatures have been really fabulous. On Sunday, Amy will be heading back to Arizona, whereas I will be heading out to Berkeley because I've rented a camper van from Outer Vans, and I'll be taking that as a solo trip up the California coast. I brought my stand-up paddleboard, as you saw earlier. I'll be inflating that and paddling about 10 miles up the Big River, which is located just outside of Mendocino. And then I have some plans to do some hiking up in some of the Redwood Forests and also spend some time on special little beaches like Glass Beach. I've got some reservations to do some camping at some of the state parks, but I also found a nice private property on HipCamp.com. I'll be staying on a gentleman's property outside of Mendocino. So it should be a really wonderful experience, and I really look forward to sharing that with you. So sit back and enjoy the ride.
Cut this for the walkway.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, Muir Woods is a real easy place to get to. We took an Uber to Sausalito this morning and had breakfast. However, you could take a ferry across and then also to Sausalito, but we took a bus that was only $3 from Sausalito all the way to Muir Woods. And it's just, if you haven't been here, it's a wonderful place to walk around and really see these incredibly huge redwood trees. And it's a little busy. There's quite a few people here, people from all over the world speaking multiple languages, but that's all right. The rest of the week I'll be spending more in solitude, hiking some of the trails up in far northern California where there's far fewer people. These redwoods are at least 2,000 plus years old, much older than any of us and much older than all of our ancestors. You can see that a lot of them have experienced forest fires many times over. They're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 350 feet high. The bark is about a foot thick, but you can see that there's a lot of burn far on the inside of the bark. Just reminds you that these trees will probably be here long after we leave the planet and long after the trails that we've built have washed away. Little kids are pretty cute, aren't they?
So what we've got here is our 2017 ProMaster, so just a few years old. And actually these seats right here swivel around, so you just pull this little lever right here and then they swivel completely around, so both of them swivel.
All right, great.
Super simple. And that kind of gives you a little dinette area. So then right here you've got a little slot for a table leg.
Okay.
Table leg's actually down here. Right here.
Right.
And it just swivels in there, screws on. Really, really simple.
Okay.
And then the tabletop is actually in this drawer right here.
Okay.
So you can just pull that out. You've got USB power here. You also have, you know, the cigarette lighter power. You've got the shore power as well.
Great.
And then below here, there's some towels for you.
All right. Awesome.
And then let's see, what else do we got over here? Okay, so these lights right here, these three kind of reading lights, they actually run off of this one switch. So you can turn them all on and off at the same time, but you can also control them individually.
Okay.
So that's pretty simple there.
All right.
And then these lights, there's two separate circuits here. So you've got the four front ones and then the two back ones.
Okay.
So that's pretty simple as well. To use the shore power, you actually just have to turn on the inverter. So it's this one button right here. We just press on the inverter. And all the three-prong outlets will only work when you turn on the inverter.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is your solar power, your battery power. So now we're at 93% because the fridge was running last night. So you'll probably get up to 100 by the time you probably drive for a little bit. So you don't need to worry about this very much. Honestly, this vehicle is very, very self-sufficient.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think we've ever gotten it below maybe 80%.
Okay.
It's got 2,000 watts of solar up there, so it's pulling in a lot
Awesome.
of solar.
Awesome.
You don't need to worry about anything here. Literally, just the only button you need to know about is this inverter
Okay.
button. And the only trick
Simple's good.
with the stove is you have to press the inverter button on in order to light the stove. There's
Okay.
only mechanical power in there, so you have to do
gotcha.
that. And then the fan, actually this is a remote for the fan. You just point it right here and you can turn it on and off.
Very cool.
It goes in and out. So if you're cooking, we recommend to make sure you turn it so that it's pulling air out.
Boy, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is very powerful. So you can turn it up and down. It helps control the temp in here. It is hot this week, so make it good to have. And here we've got your fridge. So fridge and freezer. Oh, careful. Fridge and freezer. There's some ice things in there if you need some ice.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
And then here we've got a bunch of cleaning stuff in here, some paper bags, some trash bags. We kind of just try to make sure you have everything you need. There's a little vacuum in here. We ask that you just kind of keep it as clean as possible for when you return it.
Okay.
In here we've got some spices, oils and stuff that you might need. Our pots have detachable handles, so those are right here.
That's cool. Yep.
So they're compact. Let's see, what else? Oh, sorry, Chris usually does this, so it's not my forte.
You're doing a great job.
And then here you have all your silverware, everything you could ever need, bottle openers, things of that nature. We have a stool here that helps just pop into bed, but we also typically recommend just putting a trash bag in there, and that becomes your trash.
Sure.
There's also a good spot, secret spot back there for storage. Should you need anything like put shoes back there or something you want to have access to but you don't want out.
All right.
Extra storage drawer here. Let's see what else. Yeah, and then here we've got books, Bluetooth speaker. There's a bunch of lights, some fire starters, and then just more storage for you.
Very cool.
Okay, and then let me show you the back here.
It's in great shape.
Oh yeah, it is in pretty good shape. You know, it's always funny. You always expect the worst, but for the most part, people do a good job of taking care of it.
I rented a van in Hawaii one time, and when I got it, it was infested with roaches.
Okay, well then I'm doing good.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that here. Okay, so you got a bunch of storage back here. There's some chairs here.
Okay.
There is a ladder here for the rooftop tent. So should you feel the need,
I probably
it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
but it's all up to you. If you feel like it, you can totally test it out. It's a lot of fun up there. And then in here you've got all your nitty gritty stuff. So you got your solar shower here that you ordered.
Yep. All right.
And then we've got a first aid kit, as well as a hose to refill water, and I'll show you how to do that in a second.
Okay.
There's also a shoreline plug, should you need to plug in for power, but you won't need it.
Right.
Then there's an extra camping stove in here,
Oh, great.
some propane. There's these things, my husband always makes fun of me that I had to buy these things for the van, but they're little stools, so for your feet.
Oh yeah,
Make
great.
it really comfy when you're hanging out
Wow,
outside.
nice. How many of these vans do you have?
We have 3.
Great. How long have you been doing this?
2 years.
Great.
Yeah. And then these guys, front covers for your windows, so you
Great. All right.
can get some
Oh,
privacy up there.
You definitely thought of everything.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've gotten it covered at this point. There's a rug in there as well. Extra side table.
Great.
All that good stuff.
Nice.
And then just firewood carrier, a blanket. So here is where we fill up the water. So this first one right here, it's just a hose drain. So you just literally stick the hose with the water filter in there and you can refill water.
Okay.
You've got 10 gallons of fresh water and then 20 gallons of gray water.
Okay.
We ask that you do dump the gray water before you come back.
Okay.
And so it's really simple. It's just a matter of pulling this lever right here.
Okay.
Really, really easy.
All right.
Fun things should you feel the need to entertain yourself.
Yeah. All right.
Great. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, I'm pretty impressed with this van. It's in really excellent shape. It's only about 2 years old. They've decorated it really, really well. They provided pretty much everything you could imagine that you'd need for a nice little vacation. As I mentioned to Lindsay, I've rented vans in the past from other companies. I went to Hawaii one time and rented a camper van, and when I picked it up, it was infested with roaches. So you just never know what you're gonna get. I ended up returning that van and having to just wing it for the rest of the trip. But I'm in the van now. I'm gonna head out. I've got to cross over the Richmond Bridge. It's a toll bridge. I think we're off and running. So I decided to jump off the 101 and get on the Avenue of the Giants, which is an old historic highway that passes through all sorts of redwood groves. It eventually makes its way along the Eel River up to Myers Flat, which is the entrance to Humboldt Redwood State Park. Walking through these forests of immense trees just makes you feel so small. So I'm thinking about taking a loop hike this morning. See if I can get out to some of these other groves that are harder to get to. Some nice winding trails through here. Hoping to put together a nice little loop. There's a lot of history here with a lot of these groves. And people that came together in order to preserve these trees. And it's a really special place to do a lot of hiking through some of these and discover what it is that all these people thought was so important to protect. So I'm currently in the big trees area, and this area here is, you cross over a little stream and gets over to this beautiful grove, and there's nobody out here. I'm out here all alone. And I look across here and it looks like ancient forest. I mean, it looks like you could see a dinosaur walk through here. There's giant ferns. I'm suspended on a fallen redwood that's suspended between two redwood trees up about 25 feet off the ground. Behind me is another fallen redwood that's holding the other end of this tree up, so I'm basically on a tree bridge. The sun's dropping down in certain areas and casting some light on some of these beautiful ferns. Clovers everywhere. Here's a young redwood here that's starting to make its way up. From what I understand, the redwood trees actually grow pretty quickly. They survive upwards of 2,000 years, but they survive so long because their bark is probably almost a foot thick, and so that helps them withstand forest fires. The root systems join together amongst the different trees, and that helps stabilize them. Even though they only have about 12-foot deep root system, their roots spread out and they connect to one another, which helps them stand up during earthquakes. Just really amazing, really amazing. It's really special to come out here by yourself. Come out and spend some time, hike on one of these trails, be alone. Just feel tiny, standing at the roots and standing at the foundation of these trees. Helps put life into perspective. Hey, how you doing? So I'm standing at the very base of a fallen tree, and I'm going to walk the entire length of it because the hiking trail actually starts at one end and goes all the way to the other fallen end, probably about 30 feet off the ground here, standing on the side of the root system. And then I'm going to walk down the root and then up the base all the way to the top. Pretty incredible to be walking on a 2,000-year-old tree, laying on its side, probably about 10 feet off the ground. And I can walk and walk and walk all the way to the other end. If you've got kids at home, this would be a really great trip to bring your kids on. Give them a lot of exposure to nature. Show them something awe-inspiring. Still on that tree. At this end, it's getting smaller and starting to decompose. Yeah, it looks like it breaks off right here. And the moss, look at that. The moss starts to break it down. A lot of moisture here. This end. Tree still goes here. Boom. And that's pretty much the end of it. And at the very end is another incredible tree. You know, one of the famous John Muir quotes is written in the front of my book. And he says, "Each more melodious note I hear brings this reproach to me, that I alone afford the ear, who would the music be?" And I've always really loved that quote. And my interpretation of that quote is the fact that when you're out here in nature, spending time out here, you feel something and you hear something. And I've mentioned this before in past videos, but I can't say it enough, that to be out here in nature, you sense a vibration, a frequency. And Muir and Thoreau and Emerson all referred to that sort of energy, vibration, that frequency as a divine music, which is why I named my book Rediscovering Your Divine Music, which takes you through a process of going out into nature and spending time reconnecting with the source. You know, being a creator is one thing. Being in the workplace, creating something that advances humanity in some way, maybe. But being a conscious creator is something entirely different. And what I mean by that can be summed up pretty easily by the creation of the grove purchased by the California Federation of Women's Clubs that was early on in the process of creating this state park, which eventually became a national park in parts of it. These fine individuals came together and created something meaningful. You know, often I come across people who are so consumed by what they're doing in their work, but their work isn't necessarily doing something to consciously advance humanity toward sustainability, toward connection, meaningful connection, and to create things that help allow future generations to be able to sustain on this planet and to share in the beautiful wonder and joy of what nature has to provide right now while we're here during this brief moment of time. It's important to take all this in. Take all this in. Take this in. This is the result of people choosing to protect something beautiful as opposed to seeing dollar signs and cutting it down. So while I was researching this trip, I came across an organization called the Lost Coast League, and I've since joined that organization of people who are eager to protect all the forests between the ocean and the redwoods that create the environment that allow these redwoods to thrive. Redwoods like cooler weather, they like fog, and of course with climate change, that can certainly have an adverse effect on these beautiful groves. The Lost Coast League's tagline is "Protect the best and restore the rest." I have a lot of appreciation for that motto. Oldest of living things, what wisdom forests teach, stirring man's heart to thought deeper than speech. right, and we're off. Let's head over to Mendocino. After about a 2-hour drive through winding mountain roads, just beautiful winding mountain roads, coming up on the ocean, and there is that beautiful ocean. So after a couple of hour drive through the winding mountain roads from the 101 over to the ocean, I finally made it over here. I decided to pull off onto a nice overlook and have some lunch, just sit here and watch the waves roll in. There's a nice black sand beach just down the way here and some beautiful rock outcroppings. I've only been on the road a couple of days. I've already started to forget what day of the week it is. Tonight I plan on camping at MacKarricher State Park, and right there is also an area called Glass Beach, which I'm really looking forward to checking out. I'm probably about 40 miles north of Fort Bragg right now. You know, having access to this camper van is really nice. Anytime I want, I can pull over and make some lunch. I mean, heck, if I was tired, I could take a nap right now, right here in the double bed. It's just a freedom machine. You know, I've always wanted a camper van and haven't pulled the trigger. Hopefully we'll be doing that this winter once I can get a 2020 4x4, as they aren't really readily available right now. Anyhow, this gives me a real good idea of what I can expect by owning a camper van, and I just have to say that it's just wonderful to be able to have such flexibility and comfort along the way. Well, unfortunately, you can't get down to Glass Beach anymore. I went out there and there's no trespassing signs. Passing through Fort Bragg again, and I just was thinking and wanted to share that to really get to know a town, if you're just passing through, get off the main street and just drive around some of the neighborhood streets and some of the other commerce streets, because you really can't get the feel for a town if you're not hanging out in it by just passing through on the main drag. I've had a lot of friends tell me that they hate Phoenix. And I was like, have you ever really been there? Well, yeah, I passed through one time on the I-17. It was just ugly. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. It's very ugly when you stay on I-17 passing down from Flagstaff toward Tucson. But, if you get off the main drag and you head into the mountains of northeast Scottsdale, you just find how beautiful it truly is. And or if you even just in the city pass through Paradise Valley and through the base, past the base of Camelback Mountain, Echo Canyon and whatnot, it's really important to discover just how beautiful places really are when you get off the beaten path. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm passing through some of the neighborhoods. I'm gonna get back up into the mountains east of the city and just see what this place is really like. Well, as suspected, getting off the main road kind of introduces you to other interesting parts of a community, and I just found Noyo Harbor, which is down below the town along one of the rivers here, and looks like there's a nice fish market, a deli. You can do some sport fishing here. Looks like you can rent kayaks and paddle boards, things like that. Looks like there's some nice little dining places right along the water on some suspended decks. Looks pretty nice. One of the nice things about this particular van size is that it actually fits into a parking space. I've been looking at getting a Mercedes 170, which is quite a bit longer than this, but this is also longer than a 144. So I'm not exactly sure what the length of this thing is, but there's a lot of parking lots that say no RVs, and the nice thing about this thing is that I'm able to fit in a lot of those parking lots where other people have to park much further away. So I was making my way down to Mendocino, and I decided to pull off and take a visit to Point Cabrillo Lighthouse. And it's a pretty long walk. It's also pretty foggy, but you can see those trees back there in the distance is where the campers parked. So I've had to walk probably about a mile, maybe a little less than that, 3/4 of a mile. Pretty cool place, historic property. You can actually rent these. There's vacation rental cottages here. We're out on the end of a cape. You know, when you're walking like this, you get into some deep thought. I've been thinking a lot about solo travel, which is something you tend to do when you're on a trip by yourself. But, you know, I'm going to be 50 this year. I've spent probably the last 30 years of my life, 29, 30 years of my life, being in either relationships or having dependents like my child, Colin. And only in the last couple of years have I been able to really start to allow my free-spirited personality to sort of take shape. And I had always told myself that I was going to be doing some solo travel, and I do enjoy traveling with my partner, but going it alone once in a while is really valuable, I think. You set your own schedule, you go at your own pace, you do exactly whatever it is you want to do. And if you haven't spent much time solo traveling, I, for one, recommend giving it a try. If you've done a lot of solo traveling, well, then I recommend you traveling with a partner and see how that goes. But you really get into some deep thoughts sitting out there on a cliff, looking down at the waves crashing in and watching the harbor seals basking in the fog. But it's a very valuable experience to say the least. And as you've probably seen, I've done a lot of solo adventures lately, which I've filmed most of. And so I'm not entirely going alone, since I'm sort of traveling with you and talking to the camera. It is like having a conversation. But, you know, I do give myself a lot of time in between the filming to just sit and be quiet and get into some deeper contemplations and philosophizing and sort of looking at the second half of my life and kind of assessing what it is I would like to do with it. And we've arrived in Mendocino. I've been here before. This is a really cute town. All right, what do you say we do a little paddling?
5, 12, 10, 20.
Walking down the street, looking for that way, so I can light up a J, and get high all day. Running through town and place, and watching sail, for that high I always chase, running up tears on my tail, thinking well to the sun.
Well, as you can see, the sun's out. I didn't even bring my sunglasses. I thought it would be foggy all the way back here, but I'm probably only a mile back and got completely out of the fog into the blue skies, sunny. It's gorgeous. Beautiful redwoods lining the sides. As you just saw a second ago, I had an experience with about 4 different otters, and there's been a lot of beautiful waterfowl. A lot of bird songs. Really be cool if I saw a bear. Beautiful day not to be in the fog. So one thing I should do is tell you a little bit about this paddleboard if you haven't seen it before. It packs up, it's inflatable by Boat, B-O-T-E. It's a bug slinger. It's called an arrow boat. Boat has a couple of different kinds of paddleboards, and this one's one of their inflatables. And I'm able to pack it in a backpack. It's less than 50 pounds to put on an airplane. I like to fly Southwest because they allow 2 bags for free. And both my luggage and this can go on a Southwest flight for no extra fare. Can't really complain with that. So I'm down on my knees now because I'm coming out and there is a strong headwind. I heard that the tides can start coming in, which can cause some difficult paddling. But the biggest issue right now is strong winds, and I'm going to paddle this sucker right into the wind here in a second. It's going to get really strong. I just came around a nice little bend. As you can tell, it's getting wavy. Going back into the fog. All right, here we go. Gotta like huff it, otherwise you don't go anywhere. Can't stand up, because if you stand up, your body's like a sail on these paddle boards. So you gotta get down on your knees, get a little lower to the water. Well, needless to say, I'm fucking exhausted. There's about 2 straight miles of headwinds coming off the ocean. Nice salty air though. It's enough workout for my shoulders for a couple of weeks. It was a beautiful, beautiful trip though. I would love to have gone all the way to the back end. There were some people that were canoeing ahead of me this morning and it looked like they had backpacks. So I'm assuming that, and I'll have to look into this a little bit more, but I'm assuming you can actually paddle probably another, I'm guessing maybe another 4 or 5 miles, maybe, from where I turned around. And I'm sure there's some nice spots to camp back there somewhere. Might be worth coming back to do a trip like that. Go all the way to the very back end. I met some really nice people a couple days ago up in Humboldt Redwood State Park that have a 50-acre parcel right outside of town here. So I'm thinking about picking up the phone and giving them a call and maybe running out to their piece of property to take a look at it. What I really was happy to see today was that even though the coast was foggy, paddling just a little ways in, it was blue skies and sunny, as I mentioned earlier. So that leads me to believe that it's probably a little clearer back there more often, yet it still gets quite a bit of coastal weather, so coastal rains, a lot of moisture. Might be a good area for me to take a look at for buying a piece of land at some point. Well, I think it was a pretty nice day today. Can't really complain. I basically sup paddled and spent some time basically just exploring the headlands instead of being at the office. And tonight I'm staying here at a gentleman named Richard's house. I found his property on HipCamp.com, HIPCAMP.com. If you haven't used HipCamp before, HipCamp's sort of like Airbnb but for campsites. And people create campsites on their properties, open up their properties to people such as myself to come and camp for a few nights. Unfortunately, I'm not able to meet Richard because he had to be out of town tonight, but I found a really nice spot to park the camper and looking forward to a very peaceful evening here. And then tomorrow I've decided I'm going to go up and spend some time with Lynn and Ed, the people I met at Humboldt Redwood State Park. Alright folks, another day well lived. Hope you enjoyed today's video capture. Until tomorrow. I'm definitely falling in line with the pace of this place. Slept till 9:30 this morning. I usually don't sleep past 6 a.m. Richard's got a lot of nice redwoods on his property. Seems like a pretty peaceful place to live. That's definitely reflected by a lot of the things he was writing about in his pamphlet that he provides. A lot of commentary in there, encouragement, encouraging people to slow down, put time before money. Something I can appreciate. Although, over time, Richard's making money. I mean, he's got 3 campsites here, probably $45 a night per campsite. And turns out that last night 2 other people showed up, so he's had a full house here and doesn't really provide any services whatsoever other than some Wi-Fi and a porta potty. So hey, you got some land, consider putting some of your land on hipcamp.com, because there's definitely some money to be made without having to provide much in the way of any kind of customer service. Well, I shouldn't say that. Richard actually provides a lot of customer service. He's got a lot of information that he provides, and if he were here, he probably would be happy to share with me anything that I would like to know. But outside of that, I mean, it's not like an Airbnb where you have turnover. I was just thinking about just how incredible this area is here, because you've got just 100 miles of incredible shoreline, just some of the most pristine, beautiful shoreline in the world. And there's whale watching, and there's harbor seals to watch, and just beautiful. And then you've got this incredible, seemingly very healthy, thick, rich green forest of redwood trees and all sorts of other kinds of foliage, which provides habitat for bears and mountain lion and all sorts of other amazing critters. And then as you go inland, and actually not even that far inland, you've got mountain ranges like the Kings Range. You've got Mount Shasta, which is a snow-capped peak. You've got all the other amazing Northern California mountain ranges that go over through the Sierras and Yosemite and Mount Whitney. This area is just really unbelievable. I mean, you've even got probably 4 or 5 different rivers up here, freshwater flowing rivers that are teeming with wildlife, as I showed yesterday. And the weather isn't really, the weather's pretty decent. It's a little cold this morning. You do have the fog cover at times, but a little bit inland you've got blue skies and sunshine. And even here, yesterday, the fog finally burned off, and even though it was a little cloudy, a lot of people were at the beaches just enjoying the warm weather and the partial sunlight. And it's not really all that populated. Just really a beautiful part of the country. Definitely a place where you can slow down and really immerse yourself into the wonders of nature, which is what I came up here to do, and I feel very accomplished at having done that, and feel pretty refreshed to go back to the valley, although it's like 110 degrees down there right now. And just spoke with my partner Amy, and she's sweltering down there. Watching the ocean waves crash to the shore, paddling the Big River among the sea otters who make this place their homes. I've walked among the giant redwoods and hopped across the freshwater streams that feed them. I've stood in the thick fog and contemplated the stories these mighty giants could share if I had the ability to listen and comprehend. In this moment of time, I witnessed the magnitude of timelessness. As the giant waves crash the headland rocky cliffs washing away the solid age-old earth, so too with it the seeming foundation of space and time. As if to teach yet again that all we have is this moment, the land, sea, and sky meld into one with each setting sun, and another seeming day goes by. I feel the moisture return to my skin from years of desert parching sun depletion. I stand on the edge of solid ground into an infinity of salty seas, knowing, not just believing, but knowing that these seas have and do touch all that is life and matter in this seeming moment. Capture such a foolish notion, that we must capture the digital moment. All that we experience we already know, have already lived in infinite planes of the multiverse. Being all that this ocean encompasses returns to my vision, not to my view, but to my inner vision, in my third eye of consciousness. Be the waves, be the crab, be the shifting tides and the moon that shifts them, pulls the nutrient waters up the giant trunks into the beloved protective canopy. Be the bark that protects life from the elements. Be the creator who expressed all and included me to witness. Be now in every now. Freedom is within. freedom is without. I thank the beloved. Well, I'm heading up the driveway to Lynn and Ed's house. Gonna spend a little time with them. Looks like they have a very beautiful piece of property. Thick forest here with ferns and redwood trees. Looks very beautiful. Well, good morning everyone. Today's Sunday. I'm heading back to Oakland to drop off the camper van and head back to Phoenix to about 110 degree temperatures. But I spent some nice time with my new friends Lynn and Ed. I didn't share much about their property with you out of kind of protecting their privacy. But they had a beautiful 50-acre piece of property high up on the top of a beautiful ridge. They were really kind as to let me stay with them last night. Had a really nice time. All in all, I've had just a spectacular trip. I would highly recommend something like this to any of you, even if you have children. This particular camper was definitely big enough to have 4 people, and as you saw, there's a rooftop tent for camping upstairs. It's a really good option for a family trip, and there's a lot of really nice things you can do with your family on a trip like this. Thank you so much for spending time with me here again at 4Expedition. Until the next trip, take care.